Hi, we're here today with Temple Hayes, the minister at First Unity Church in St. Petersburg, Florida, and we are here to talk about her new book. Temple, welcome.
Yes.
I'm so happy to talk with you today about this. Tell me a little bit about your new book and how you came up with the idea.
So hi Meg, it's truly a privilege to be with you today again as well. The book, The Right to Be You, is part of my passion in life, something that's been a mission that I've been feeling called towards for a long time. As a matter of fact, in September, I was at a mega institute taking a class, and I attended with a group of women, actually Eve Ensler, that created Vagina Monologues.
Yes.
And there were women there from all over the world, and they were standing up very strongly, you know, for what they believed, and they were talking about the violence towards women and towards children, and it was just the most amazing thing. There were 800 to 900 women there, and just all about, you know, what can we do to make the world a better place. And it was very interesting because the first part of sitting there, I'm thinking, wow, I'm not doing enough. You know, I'm not doing enough to make a difference in the world. And I felt kind of vulnerable, really, around that. But then the second part, as time went on, I started realizing that all we can do, all of us, is the one thing, or something that's our passion, or something that really calls us. And so, in the midst of all the speakers and people sharing, I started to cry. It was like my heart opened up. It was just this great spiritual experience. And so I said, you know, I'm not going to go to my intellect and try to make it something. And I'm not going to try to do a business plan. I'm not going to decide to change the course of my career.
The business plan is always
right,
something,
which in my 30s I would have done. Oh boy, let's, you know, make this into something.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going to wait and see. Wait and see. And so, you know, through meditation and various things, it's like the awareness came to me of the common ground, and what I've believed in all my life would be life rights. And life rights are like, you know, with unity, with the movement of unity. Unity came about because someone looked at all the religions of the world and found the common thread. And found the common thing. Let's focus on what we have in common. And that way, if we stay into that, we don't focus on our differences.
Right.
So one of the things I found with the idea of life rights is I've talked to so many people in my life as a spiritual leader, and they say, you know, this upsets me about what happens to children, or I get so upset with the conditions around the elderly, or I'm always upset about what's happening with gay people, and you know, someone being violated, or the war, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've also heard many people say, you know what, it overwhelms me. I don't know which thing to become part of. So like that similar concept of unity, what I started seeing was, you know, the whole thing is about, if you look at elder rights, children's rights, human rights, the right to dream and fulfill your dreams, civil rights, gay rights, animal rights, homeless rights. Everything has a common thread, and it's life rights. So that's what birthed this little book. And at first I wanted to address it with children, to talk about the little book that could. Because I really believe that wholeheartedly, is that in our society today, we are replacing nature with television sets, with games, with computerism, and though that's all real exciting, we cannot lose that teaching of nature, of having children understand the value of life. Because if you understand the value of life as a child, and you understand that animals have life, they don't need to be wrongfully mistreated, there's the respect for life. You know, why kill anything unnecessarily? So that same child grows up to be a larger person and understands that you don't kill other people.
Right.
It just all lines up with the respect for life. You don't have someone mistreating an elderly person because they're older. You have someone valuing them and taking in their wisdom of all these years. So that's a part of it.
Wow, that's exciting. So you had your first idea for this in September, and you were able to complete the book in just, how many months is that? 6 months?
Yes.
That's fabulous.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for others on how they can so efficiently, well, one, define their vision of what they really want to do and what their calling is, and two, what steps they can take once they realize it? Because that's, some people think about something and then years later they still haven't done it. So.
Yes. Well, I've always loved that idea that I learned in shamanism, to be attentive to what knocks on your door 3 times. And I think that that's something that, in being aware, so if a person has a vision or a dream, I love that statement, my dreams are waiting on me to come true. So, it's like if we have a certain pull in a certain direction, we also want to be attentive to what comes along. And several times, television has knocked on my door of either to be a host or, to try out at Home Shopping Network or, looking at different avenues or somebody wanting to co-produce a show with me. And I just walk the steps. And then if it unravels towards that and starts falling in place, then so be it. But if it becomes pushing because I want it and have to have it, then it doesn't work. Right. And it doesn't unfold. And I think that spiritual maturity gives us that. Because in my early days, the way was make it happen. Whereas now it's if it will happen, if it's meant to happen, there's actually nothing that can keep it from happening. And what's very interesting for me is back in October, not this past October, but the one prior, 2006, yes. I was invited to do part of a television show. It was right after The Secret. And so a producer in Naples invited me down along with others throughout the country and wanted me to talk about the one thing that had changed my life. The one thing. And I said, I don't have a one thing. I don't, I believe in a lot of things. So I'll give you sobriety, spirituality, and shamanism. And all 3 of them have immensely changed my life and made me aware of spirit in a much greater way. Which one do you want? I said. And so they chose, the pathway of recovery. But you can see that that was a knock on my door. So then I go to this conference and walk away thereafter with the birthing of the one thing. Because now I can look back over my life and I can see every step has been leading me towards this passion for life rights. I can see it now. I can see one of the churches that I had with the logos and be life, and the power and presence of life and the honoring of life and the healthiness of life and, all those things because it covers so many things. Respect for each other, respect for sharing the planet, most of all respect for Mother Earth. And that's what I wanted this little book to show in a very subtle but profound way. That sounds very paradoxical, doesn't it? Just like all truths. But
that's wonderful. Yeah.
To show children that as we continue to not have these rights, we're depleting from Mother Earth's rights. And that's exactly the lack of energy that Mother Earth is suffering from today, is the lack of the respect for life of all things. So what I would say to anyone in pursuing a vision or a dream is that you have to continue to be true to yourself. And though externally you may not be able to see how it's going to happen, you just keep knowing that it is going to unfold, because it will. And it will, in ways that you didn't even dream of. I love that statement that says a miracle is what happens when you wake up one day and you're there. And you don't recall, all the necessary steps that you've had to go through. in order to get there. And I think that's just so true. But the people show up, and with Life Rights, it's like, you see, it wasn't like out of myself. I had to sit down and create what are life rights because they were already in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a number of successful writers that are like mentors to me that I've listened to, they say the key is sitting down,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you don't wait until you have the time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but you just sit down and you do little steps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you're on the other side, you have something that's completed in form. So, realizing the vision and then being open to where it's going to take you and paying attention to the various whispers
Mm-hmm.
and contacts and all those things, you know, that come along our way.
Now, you had mentioned the knocking 3 times. Did you have other knocks about other books, or was this the first book project you had thought of, or where did this come from?
Okay.
Well, for me, I've been holding a space of having a book inside me for, I would say, about 3 or 4 years now. And what would keep coming to me in meditation is I'd actually see a visualization of someone with a book. In one of my meditations, it's like someone with a book and actually was handed a pen. So I'm thinking, I think there's a message here, you know. But inside me, yes, there's definitely a book. And the original idea that I had was that I'm working on a book called When Did You Die? And it's a book about how people die along the way in their lives. So in other words, their parents say, you can't do this because you're not tall enough, or the teacher says, you know, you're not smart enough, or the doctor says, you know, you could have this condition like your grandparents, or whatever. So there's layers of people when they go through disappointments in life that they die a little. Mm-hmm. You know, they just, psychologically they die, energetically speaking they die. We live in a culture where we're taught, and it's promoted on every television channel, that you're birthed in life with a certain amount of energy, and then as you go through life experiences, you have less than what you started. And you're fortunate, I mean, if you're one of the lucky ones, that you get to the end of your life and you have any energy left. And that's what we hear. I mean, I'm hearing it now on the corner of 50. You know, if I'm looking at a commercial, it's like, are you near 50? Then you can anticipate, you know, these things happening. Yeah. This dying syndrome kind of thing. And so the reality that I hold is that you're birthed with an energy that you will carry throughout the course of your life. And as you go through life experiences, challenges and struggles, which we all will, you're not supposed to have less than the energy that you started with when you die. In the reality of death, you're supposed to have more. Mm-hmm. And I've seen too many people that that's the truth. Mm-hmm. That's the truth. It's the 100th monkey kind of thing. It's what people believe. Look at how people now have changed. The 60 now and the 70 of celebrities is what the 80 and 90 used to be. So we are shifting to come to realize that we have a lot of energy around everyday dying. Yeah. The other part of it is the Jungian call, the Jungian need to die. And that is, as Carl Jung said, you know, first you must realize that you are asleep. Mm-hmm. Then you wake up so you can die, so you can be born. Mm-hmm. And you cannot be born until you die, and you cannot die until you wake up. So that's another part of the book, is talking about the necessity that we shed a layer many times in our lifetime to, like the cat with the 9 lives, for us to continue to become more of the magnificence of what we're designed to be spiritually, and who, you know, as we were birthed out of this God energy, what we can become. So that was the plan, the When Did You Die, and it's still going to happen. Okay. And then another book to follow with Life Rights, of an adult version of Life Rights. But out of this concept, in meeting with some colleagues and my own inner being, it's like, well, there's a book that can happen right now, at least to get it going. And now the momentum is here.
Yeah.
So it's a shorter step, but also can start with a generation that to me is someone that will listen, and that's the children.
Yeah.
So that's how that all unfolded.
Very nice. Well, the concept of life rights, it's one of those just ingenious things that you hear about and you think, why didn't I think of that? So, I mean, that's just fabulous. And you mentioned you're going to do an adult version of it too. So, any time frame on when that's going to come out, or when you're
Probably about a year.
Probably about a year. Okay. And is The Right to Be You, is that available now?
It is.
It is. Okay. Great. Amazon, or how do people find your book?
They can go to my website at templehays.com.
Templehays.com.
Yes.
Okay. Fabulous.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing this fabulous book into the world.
Oh.
Because I think it's going to make such a difference. It just ties together so many concepts that just needed to be tied together for everyone. So, thank you.
Thank you.